Welcome to the All Access Podcast from the experts at MES. Each episode, we'll talk about technology topics, trends, or solutions that manufacturers need to know in today's rapidly evolving times. Sit back, enjoy the discussion, and let us know what you think.
Hello, friends. Welcome to another episode of the All Access Podcast. I am your host, Michael Thiessen. I'm coming to you from the beautiful studio over here at MES America in Troy, Michigan. We always are looking for finding topics that is value added to all of you guys. And I think today's topic is incredible. It's one of those topics that everybody right now, that at least that I am talking to, has an interest, wants to know more about it, and is just eager to get that information. We see all of the issues that you guys are running into. We hear them from you directly. And one of the most important items that the takeaway from the IMTS was that everybody has the same issue with finding skilled people. All of you. I mean, if you're not having a sign out front in your yard at your company trying to find machinists or operator or CAD/CAM operators, any of those things, then you have it on you have it on your website. But all of you guys are looking for skilled people, good people, all of that kind of stuff. But at the same time, I saw all of you guys and all of the manufacturers looking at new machines. I mean, put those two together. You're looking at new machines, and at the same time, you don't really have an operator that can operate it. What are you going to do? I mean, you have already some people at your company. You now need to retrain it. All those kind of things, and it's a dilemma. And so, what we want to do this time around in this particular podcast, I want to introduce you to a fellow that he's very dear to my heart. He's an expert in his own field, actually many fields he's an expert in, but we're just going to focus on one today. And he's out of the industry. Many of you guys may know him already. Some of you, the name is new, but he's an incredible individual with incredible, vast knowledge when it comes to the topic of MES. I don't know if you know what the name MES stands for, and you're going to find that out here in a minute from Marty. But Marty has 30 plus years experience in the tool and die as well as in the mold industry. And his depth of knowledge is incredible, especially in the industry of the automotive manufacturing. That knowledge of how a company works and what is needed in order to be successful, and what is needed in order to maintain your deadlines and the scheduling and the planning. That information, that knowledge, he brought to this company, ProLice. And it is an incredible honor to have him on this podcast here, where we're going to be talking about MES systems, how beneficial those systems are, and why you should get this. So without further ado, I want to introduce you to Marty Chaput. Marty, hey, welcome to the All Access Podcast.
Hey, how are you, Michael? Thanks for that great introduction there. Yeah, it's overwhelming. Thank you.
Hey, you are an expert. You are the most knowledgeable individual over here in the U.S. With MES systems. And let me ask you this right up front. Why did you get interested in MES systems?
Well, it's a great question, Michael. Actually, it's really a passion of mine to start. It's manufacturing has been something that's been kind of bred into my blood since I was just a young kid on a farm, cranking some Bridgeport handles and understanding how manufacturing really happens. And from there, I kind of grew in my career and ended up in a resource management position. And it was really a key piece to have a software that could actually be monitored from a central location and give you the information of all these resources, especially when you're talking hundreds of resources that you need to monitor. There's no way that you can run around and monitor all of these individually by yourself, or even if you had team leads, you're always getting secondhand information. The best way to really have an overview of your resources is to have that central digital location and real-time information available at your fingertips.
Mm-hmm. So ProLice is not a new company, right?
No, that's correct. Yeah, ProLice has been around actually 25 plus years, working closely in collaboration with Tevis over in BMW in Europe. And in 2017, in September, ProLice was acquired by Tevis because they were working so closely and they wanted to continue the collaboration in between the CAD/CAM and MES. And they really wanted to focus on an interface development for BMW at the time, which is now available as a standard option in our software.
So ProLice has been for the last, 25 odd years, operated in Germany. They just came over here in the U.S. Obviously, to most companies over here in the U.S., ProLice is a brand new product.
That's correct. Yeah, it's just really migrating over into America now. We do have kind of a few installations in Portugal and Spain and in Europe, quite a few in Europe. Although an MES is really kind of a new topic here per se. I would say not new, brand new, but maybe 10 years. It's been, people have been kind of looking for a solution for an MES. And that's really where I came into ProLice as well. Doing research year over year, looking for this solution and always kind of coming back, to ProLice that was really a complete solution that also included, data management, which is a large part, not necessarily even of an MES. It's just really a nice add-on to the MES system as well. And I think that's something that's really sought after as well in the industry.
Now, earlier I already mentioned that IMTS was hugely successful. Actually, very surprising of how successful it was, especially considering that we went through a pandemic, and for the last, 4 years, we were not able to get together and mingle at this particular show. But you were there too.
That's right. I was with our Tevis team there as well. Yeah.
What was your takeaway? And was there an interest from people that walked up and asked, what is MES? Was there an interest?
There was a lot of great conversations that happened at the IMTS around the MES topic in general. Again, I think there's a lot of misconception about the difference between an ERP and an MES. And surprisingly so, in the last 2 to 3 years, 4 years since the pandemic happened, that definition of the MES is becoming clearer throughout the industry, but there's still kind of some gray area between the two. And it's important to understand that an ERP is more of a business driving static software, where an MES is real-time process management software.
So many people are getting that wrong. They believe they have an ERP system that can solve everything. And you just mentioned, I think, a key word. One is static, one's dynamic. Tell me more about this. I want to know what is the difference between the two?
Well, I like to kind of look at it from the perspective that an ERP is capturing data, but after it's complete. So we're looking at time frames, maybe a monthly time frame, a bigger time frame than you would with an MES. An MES is capturing, you're actually able to look at your process in real time as it's happening. So you could have, let's say, for example, there's a job being cut on a machine and you're halfway through and you realize that you're not halfway done. You need to add more time to that task. You can actually be proactive with an MES system and add that extra time directly onto the task at that time so that it's reflected in your real-time schedule. When you look at it from the perspective of the ERP, it's only going to capture that time and that task, maybe 2 or 3 weeks down the road. So really not allowing you to be proactive on your real-time schedule. It would be more of a reactive situation. So it really gives you that ability to have the data in real time upfront and allow you to modify your processes in real time as you're going through the shop, if necessary, and then capture that final information and use that for your next starting point of a similar classification of a job.
So that the data capturing is completely different between an ERP. You mentioned it's just looking at a situation after the fact, while an MES is live. How's the functionality between the two of them? Is it the same functionality, or is there a difference?
There's a difference in functionality where the ERP, again, is more about the business itself and reports for the business aspect, where the MES is about processes and connecting to the actual resources in real time. An ERP doesn't necessarily connect directly to the resources. That's the kind of the role of the MES in the structure. So the ERP connects to the MES, and the MES connects to the processes and all of the resources.
So forgive me for not asking this beforehand. MES stands for what?
A great question. We did overlook that. It's a manufacturing execution system.
So in other words, the word already says this. It is looking at your manufacturing sector, your shop floor, your plant, rather than just what the ERP is looking at it quantitatively or just from a scheduling perspective as an oversight, correct?
Exactly. Yeah, the ERP is more functional at an advanced planning scenario, let's say, which we kind of integrate the advanced planning into our MES as well. Some MESs don't provide that function, but it is a powerful function to be able to take the advanced planning and put it in as a placeholder in your actual schedule. And that way it allows you to do all of your productive planning and then switch over that advanced planning into productive planning. So kind of removing the placeholder and replacing it with the real plan. Right. So that's a key function as well.
There's another entity, another 3-letter word, CRM systems, that I think it all kind of connects together. MES systems can tie together with CRMs and quoting systems and all that kind of stuff to get a complete look, right?
That's correct. Yes, we could tie into even like cell management softwares for machining cell. That's very popular as well, so that we could feed the information that the cell management requires into the cell management software, and then it'll execute the jobs of manufacturing throughout the cell, and then give feedback into an MES system as well. And that's very key to be able to monitor, first of all, the progress, and also to evaluate the efficiency of the process afterwards. And these are the tools that you don't necessarily see in an ERP as well, as the ability to actually run reports and compare your budget versus actual in real time, and then have this process template be applied to the next job of the same classification.
Right. So when I was strolling around at the IMTS, and you probably did the same thing, one thing was really visible. There was a lot of emphasis on ERP, MES systems, and I don't know if it was just me that saw that there were so many different manufacturers of some of these softwares that are out there for ERPs or MESs, and it seems like that companies were paying attention to that. Did you get that same feeling that now more than ever, this is an important topic?
Yes, I do. I did feel the same thing there. It was very pronounced. I feel that the pandemic and having people work remotely has really been a catalyst for the MES desire and the manufacturing. And it really allows people to have all of the information necessary at their fingertips without having to go chase, blocks down through the shop or, find out the progress of something when all of your tasks and operations are in front of you in a digital format, showing with progress and, understanding where the part is in the manufacturing process from a dashboard. So I did find the same thing. A lot of people are chasing an MES now as kind of the final piece of digitalizing the complete manufacturing process.
Mm-hmm. I think it is. I think up to about a few years back, a lot of people were still utilizing Excel sheets or static sheets. From what I gathered, a lot of individual departments in the mold shop or in a die shop, they were doing their individual planning. But it was just by department and department. Do you have that information as well? Or do you have different information?
No, I agree with that 100%. A lot of the companies that we're working with are actually using Excel sheets. And like you say, it's not one Excel sheet that everybody's sharing. Everybody kind of maintains their own static sheet in their own department. And they don't really see the effect of the planning from the previous department until it becomes to a reactive point. And when you're reacting to the schedule, you're scrambling, and sometimes you're maybe not planning things as efficiently as you could. Mistakes happen, the quality suffers, and then your customers aren't happy.
From your experience, though, companies that have utilized Excel sheets or anything like that, or static documents, if they would be going to an MES system, what would they gain?
They would gain a lot of predictability, let's say, because now you're not guessing. You have more facts to work with, and your process is scheduled a lot better, because you're going to have an actual plan for the complete job right out of the gates in engineering. You're going to know when this job is going to be put on the machines. So if there's a delay in engineering, it pushes out that planning in real time as well. So it's very important to have the actual true state of every task as it goes through the process. And then if it does get pushed out, it pushes everything out to be able to, it still tries to hit the deadlines, of course, but you're always, you have a dynamic schedule in this respect. When you're with your Excel sheets, as soon as you hit save, it's out of date. It's no longer in real time. That's one of my favorite things in the manufacturing scheduling, right? As soon as you hit save, it's out of date. Where we work out of a central database, any MES really works in a central database that allows you to share all of that information in real time. So your delays are evident immediately to all of the successing tasks as well.
So companies would essentially be way more efficient. They have a much better oversight on their planning, so to speak. They know exactly what their deadlines are, and they can adjust essentially on the fly. Is it really on the fly that you can handle this?
Absolutely. The system itself has an automated algorithm for adjusting the schedule automatically. So as soon as you hit the button to reschedule, it finds the best fit, makes sure everything's on time, and if it's not, it gives a red flag in the system to say, hey, wait a minute, this isn't going to work. What do you want to do? What can we do with this, right?
Okay, a real-time scenario here, real time. A machine goes down right now. I am supposed to have 2 jobs on this machine. What's going to happen? What are you going to do?
We first of all interrupt the task, change the resource calendar within the MES, and say, okay, this machine's offline. It's going to take a week to fix. And then you hit reschedule, and it's going to look if it can just postpone that task until the machine's going to be ready again and still hit the deadline. Or if not, it'll shuffle it around and put it on a different machine.
Okay, if I would go the old-fashioned way, what would my task look like there? Well,
it would involve more than the 3 people necessary with an MES. you're probably looking at the scheduler running over with a new sheet, going to the maintenance department. You're probably involving 10 people in this process rather than everybody getting an alert through the MES system and saying, hey, okay, this is changing. We need maintenance over here. So maintenance could get an email, instead of the guy from the machine running over to maintenance. And, the old process, you try to involve as many people as you can, and then you talk to 3 or 4 people along the way, right? That can be pretty time consuming, right?
A lot of chasing, a lot of drinking coffee during meetings, and a lot of scratching sheets out and then going to another sheet, putting that together. I know, I've been there. I've also seen a lot of mold and die shops that they have a emergency Friday every single week, where all of a sudden the mold of choice all of a sudden is pretty much the manager comes up and says, oh, hey, everybody on this particular mold, it needs to be out by Wednesday next week. Let's go. While all the other jobs are falling now behind. Does ProLice kind of follow along that same path, or is again this totally different?
No, there is 2 completely different perspectives there. The one you're talking about, which is quite normal. I mean, it's not out of the norm in this industry, and that's more of a reactive approach with Excel sheet planning. Is a perfect scenario for that. Where we take a proactive approach. So instead of, and like you say, another thing that would happen in a scenario you described is that, oh, we need everybody to work this weekend out of the blue, right? You're supposed to have Sunday off with your family. No, not anymore. We need you here. So now what we could do with an MES is actually plan ahead and say, okay, to get it out on Wednesday, we need to work an extra hour of overtime every day during the week, instead of taking up somebody's Sunday to spend with their family. So again, you're planning ahead, and it's giving some wiggle room on a task as well. So if you can actually achieve that deadline realistically, or if you need to add overtime or maybe outsource a certain part, whatever it might take to address the capacity issue that you're having.
So essentially what you're going to be able to do real time, you can find issues, and you were talking about resources earlier. Explain what do you mean with resources, because many of our listeners probably don't know. What do you mean with a resource?
Absolutely. It's a great question that comes up very often as well, Michael. It's important to understand that resources are not only equipment, but also your staff. Your people, your employees are crucial resources. And we run into a shortage, as you mentioned already at the beginning of the podcast, where we can't find people or resources to be able to actually perform the tasks that we need to complete during the manufacturing. So with an MES, you're able to manage the people as well as the equipment, so that you can look at the skills that people may have. You can take the skills that your current employees have and document those into a template, right? So now you're creating a process template out of somebody's knowledge and skills that they've acquired over the past 30, 40 years. We have a lot of these guys in the trade that are just super, super knowledgeable. And unfortunately, a lot of times when they retire, the knowledge goes with them, right? So with an MES, you can also take advantage of that, where you can take all of the knowledge that he's acquired, or he or she has acquired over the years, put it into a template, and then you can take this as a starting point for the successors, right? But I'm kind of, I went off topic there a little bit about the resources, but I think it's important to understand that as well, that the employees are the most valuable resource at the end of the day, because the equipment you can buy, sell, and they really have a certain kind of capacity or throughput that they're made for. Where people are all different, and it's nice to be able to to accommodate the different skill levels of people, and make sure that you're not overworking your most important resources.
Right. And
Right.
and I think it's very important to mention too that if you utilize an MES system, you can have a complete overlook over your not just the planning aspect of it, but of your entire company. You can see where your raw stock is, your blank material is at any point in time, and you could even set it up. I would imagine that you could even create sectors inside your plant that once that job moves through that particular sector, that automatically inside the MES, it updates and sends a ping back essentially of where now this particular job is. Because I have to assume that you can track the job from it when it goes to the ADM department, to the gun drill department, and so forth, right?
That's correct. Yeah, I can only speak about our MES in that respect, but we do have logistics built into our MES, and it does exactly as you've described. As soon as it's received, we can use a barcode scanner, and you barcode, okay, here's the order it receives, so this part is in this location. And then it creates a task for your internal logistics team to be able to say, okay, it's at receiving, and the first operation that it needs to be there at a machine is going to be for, let's say, square up an eye bolt or roughing. So it then creates a task automatically for the logistics team to transport that block over to the machine it needs to be at. So that becomes a prerequisite to release the task. So if there's, let's say, 2 tasks that can start at the same time, and one of them, the material is at the machine, then it'll start that task. It'll favor that one instead of the other. And then those logistics tasks are created every time a task is completed for machining, for assembly. We don't only have an MES solution for machining, it's for the complete process, right through assembly and tryout and quality loops. We have a quality management part as well that's quite important for your processes.
Is it even tracking and scheduling the CAM portion of it?
Absolutely. Every task that needs to happen to the block or to any part within that mold or die, every individual part has a network of process that needs to happen. So every task is accounted for.
Every step of the way, you have complete oversight of where that job is, if it's falling behind, and if it is falling behind, if you need to go into overtime to still meet that deadline, because you only are measured by the last job that you're handing over if you're getting another repeat job. Now,
exactly.
Now, you have been already in a couple of projects involved. Without, of course, you can't name names, which project you've been involved in. What was the interaction like? Was it well received by this particular company? Is it successful? The ProLife system in their environment. Can you elaborate a little bit of how successful it was, or if it wasn't?
Yes, absolutely. It's proven to be exactly as anticipated, to have that proactive approach. So I had one instance for some feedback, and I was told, Marty, I don't know, ProLife is telling me I need to outsource this, but I don't know, I don't think so. I was like, well, you're going to have to either trust the system or go with your gut. And at the end of the day, the individual did go with the ProLife's prediction and outsourced it, and lo and behold, they ended up exactly on target for their delivery.
Wow! So it's a complete win.
I believe yes. It's really, you need to trust the software, because data is collected at all times during the process, and the data is what drives really the decision making in software. It's not people's feelings or gut feelings or, well, we did this last time. It's more about exactly what's in the system for data. So the outcome is very predictable, both for process, for deadlines, and for, the quality outcome. And at the end of the day, it all comes down to making more money, right? Who doesn't want to
Dollars
make
and
more
cents.
money? Exactly, right?
It always is the greenbacks and the dollars and everything, making more profit in the least amount of time. And I mean, otherwise you wouldn't be in business.
Exactly. So, that kind of makes me think of another point as well. Instead of, outsourcing just to be on the safe side, you could keep more of your work internal. And obviously, there's a better profit margin keeping work in-house. So that's another powerful point of being proactive as well and really knowing your capacity.
Absolutely. So let me ask you this. I think this is going to be very important for all of our listeners that are in the mold and the die business involved. And I got to say this too. We didn't say this earlier. ProLice is in the single part manufacturing environment, correct? Not series production.
That's correct. Yeah, small batch series maybe, but not a series. Yeah, not full out production.
So to some of our listeners, what are some of the most frequent mistakes that you've run across when they're doing their manufacturing planning? Because if they can avoid the mistakes, I'd rather have them avoid it than actually do them. What are some of them that you run across?
I'll touch on two that come to mind right away. And it's really about underutilizing your resources and your employees. Sometimes you just get too focused on, the jobs that are behind, and you're putting all of your manpower on there, and then you have other people that are sitting idle, but you're not even thinking about them because you're more focused on the problem at hand. So by having a clear overview of the entire picture, you're able to always monitor all of your resources instead of focusing in one area. For example, let's say you get into a large machining problem and your capacity's inefficient there or inadequate, and you have to try to focus on getting some large jobs through. Meanwhile, your small machines are suffering, right? Because maybe you have guys who are sitting around, maybe could be doing something else for the next job, things of this nature, right? So what's beautiful with an MES is that it'll pull ahead any work that it can as well, anything that's ready, and fill that empty capacity. So you're always maximizing the use of your resources. So that's a big one. It's kind of watching a complete overview instead of just focusing in one area. Sometimes coming back to focusing on the process networks for complex parts, because of course they're more challenging. You always want to try to be as efficient as possible with those complex parts. But meanwhile, you're forgetting maybe about some of the, maybe not the easier parts, but maybe medium complexity. And the process networks aren't always being, captured or refined, in a continuous improvement process there, because you're always focusing on the hardest stuff, which is a good approach, although some other areas can suffer in that respect as well. So again, it's really about not just focusing in one area, but spreading that focus across the complete manufacturing. And that's another good example. And of course, coming back to the Excel sheets, that's also a great one. Data management, which is a big part of ProLice, is something that I would also like to touch on in that respect, because you often have, who hasn't run the wrong program on the wrong part? I mean, it happens, right? So this is something that's managed within ProLice as well, so that you can actually take your CAD files, and they're tied specifically to a bill of material item. So you can't use the wrong file on the wrong part. When you create programs with the interface to TEVIS, everything is saved directly only to that bill of material item. So you're not going through file folders and a file share, and I grabbed the wrong job number, ran the program. No, that's not possible with the data management available with ProLice. So
it seems
like a couple of topics there. Yeah.
It seems like ProLice is an incredible system. I think that more people should be looking at or listening to, because the MES systems right now are so important to have. Marty, you already talked about two of the critical mistakes that some of the manufacturers do when it comes to their planning. Actually, Tebas has a white paper. If any of the listeners, I believe, are interested in this particular white paper, they can contact us. I think Marty can talk hours and hours about these types of scenarios, and we could be taking over the airwaves for a very long time. Talking about the MES systems. But Marty, I want to really thank you for really giving our listeners input of what they should be doing in order to increase their efficiency, in order to make these additional dollars in their pocketbooks, and in order how to control their people, and also new hirees with setting different skills level and their resources, and absolutely purchase more machines, get the guys on top of it, and have an oversight really of what's going to happen with these machines and how you can utilize them. So I thank you for coming on the podcast and giving the good news that companies have a way to really figure out what to do in certain circumstances, plan adequately so that they can still maintain the accurate due dates for all of these molds and dies and parts. Any final thought from your side?
I would just like to thank you, first of all, for having me on the podcast. I hope it was beneficial information for everyone, and I would definitely extend my help if anybody would like to discuss any further. I mean, as you mentioned, I like to talk about this. It's really a passion of mine. So, it's very easy for me to go on and for hours about it. I'm sure you've been a victim of that, I think, Michael. So
it shows when you're passionate about a subject that companies really recognize that you want to help them and not just sell them something because you want to improve their environment.
Yeah, exactly. It's really about moving into the industry 4.0 together, moving into this digital age. And maybe I geek out on it a little bit, but it's really, it's super to see that, going back to 30, 35 years ago from using a tracer, to off of a model, and now we're switched over to digitalizing with twins and the process. So I'm just very happy to be part of this whole industry 4.0. And thanks again for having me on the podcast. And if I can, assist anybody in the future, please feel free to reach out.
Awesome. Thank you, Marty. Some final thoughts from my side here. Again, if you want to get the white paper on the 10 most frequent mistakes when it comes to manufacturing planning, reach out to us. You can reach us at marketing@tebasusa.com. Reach out to us, and we'll be more than happy to provide you with this white paper so it can help you out at the end of the day. And hopefully this is beneficial to you. And really, MES systems, this ProLice systems, these are things that you really need to invest in. You need to start looking at these things because the labor market as we see it right now, it's not improving, and we need to help ourselves. And by utilizing these technology tools and these items, we can potentially circumvent that. It's always good to use technology when those things come up. So, get the information, again, marketing@tebasusa.com. If there are some additional topics that you would like us to cover, if there are items that you have not thought into it, that you would like to know a little bit more, reach out to us too. Same address as already mentioned, marketing@tebasusa.com. And from my side, have a wonderful rest of the week. Hopefully this episode was beneficial for you, and tune in for some more sessions about our industry. Thanks again. Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining this episode of All Access. Please leave a comment or review with your feedback or what you'd like to hear in future episodes. To learn more about manufacturing technology solutions and Tevis's capabilities, visit our website at Tevis. That's TEVIS.com.